Welcome to the Nexus Unloaded podcast. This is Will Crozier.
And I'm Nikki Westcombe. We are the founders of Nexus Performance. Joining us on this wild ride is our heavyweight coaching team, ready to unleash their expertise to solve any problems in your journey to getting strong and jacked.
Through our real-world experience, we hope to break things down in a digestible, applicable, and entertaining way.
So pump up the volume and let's get into this.
There's no Jordan. Okay.
It's just Josh and Alex.
We're on.
J&A.
Why? Please.
So we're talking Josh's love life. We won't start off like that.
All right, wait up. Let me just get comfortable.
Should we give Tam the old...
So it all started when I was a child. And no, I'm just fucking with you. We don't have time for that today.
No. We're keeping the podcast under an hour. We'd probably need 4 minimum.
This is going to be a series.
The Adventures of Josh.
It's a what are those? It's a Netflix special.
A mini-series.
It's a Netflix special.
Special event.
8 episodes.
8?
Yeah, 2 hours
You
each.
could fill 2 hours.
Well, David Beckham got 4 2-hour episodes, so I could at least get 8. My life's more interesting than David Beckham's.
It's in more pieces than David. Actually, I haven't watched it, so I don't know. I can't comment.
It's actually pretty good. It was pretty interesting because, I know who David Beckham is. Everyone
Obviously.
knows who David Beckham is.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize,
played tennis, yeah?
because I was quite young.
He's a tennis
I
star.
didn't quite realize the extent of what he went through.
Okay. What's the
pretty
gist?
hectic.
I didn't watch it. Give
It
me
was
the
literally his life
synopsis.
story about from pretty much when he got drafted to playing football, all the way through to retiring. Soccer.
We're in
it's
Australia.
football there. About his life with Posh, his trials and
That's
tribulations.
Posh Spice.
Yeah.
The good
Good.
one.
She
Yeah.
tries to claim she's middle class, and then he pops his head in. He's like, come on, tell the truth.
Middle class.
She's like, oh, we did grow up middle, working class, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, what did you get driven to school in? And he's sitting there feeding it to her. And she's like, oh, yeah. Oh, okay, so my dad had a Rolls Royce.
Was this like
in
a
the
shot
80s.
Was this like a shot of their couples therapy interview?
No.
Or something?
So she was on the couch doing the talk, and then he
Okay.
had his head poked in through the door,
Just
trying to be pull your head in.
giving her a hard time.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
She got driven to school in a Rolls Royce in the 80s.
Mm,
That's
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 middle class.
wealthy.
That's not.
That's not middle working class.
We were middle class.
I was middle class, and we had a Suzuki Swift.
Yeah, I was going to say Dad had the Ford gear or something held together with duct tape and gaffer tape. And
Mum had a 96 Swift, which I then inherited for my 16th birthday.
what did you do with that car?
Drove it until the gearbox fucked out on it.
Mm.
Probably didn't help. I never serviced it. And
No.
put it under a four-wheel drive.
So you totaled it.
Yes. But
Okay.
then a very nice mechanic, where I will not disclose, fixed it.
Ah, yes. I know a guy.
And I remember he's like, $500 cash,
Mm.
no receipt,
No questions.
no anything.
Yep.
That was it.
Cool.
No problem, mate. Here you go.
Never saw it again.
Never saw him again.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You like to have a few friends
I don't know if I'd like to have friends like that.
maybe associated people.
You'd like to know people.
Yeah, you know the guy.
Yeah.
You don't. It's a friend of a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we keep him that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a few of those. Not I didn't total any cars when I was. Well, I have totaled a couple cars, but none of
Do
them
we
were
need
my
to
fault.
talk about your car trials and tribulations recently?
Jeez. Well, cars have just been the bane of my existence since I've started owning them. I don't think I've really ever had over 10 grand in the bank since I owned a car.
Mm.
And that's due to cars dying on me, making poor decisions with purchasing cars, and also just what I consider extremely poor luck. I must have been a car masochist in a past life or something. And now-
Demolition derby driver.
Yeah, now they're getting their revenge slowly but surely.
See, I've had pretty good luck. Besides the Swift.
Touch wood. There's not much wood around.
Fuck.
That's a shame. Oh, yep. Mahogany.
Then I had a 2009 Toyota Orion. It's probably one of the best cars I owned.
That's a good car.
It was the full ZR6 Sportivo, top of the range sports model.
Was it orange?
No, it was like a gunmetal sort of bronzy color.
Okay.
They were the old undercover cop cars. And what I'd like to do on the highway is jump in the right lane
Mhm.
and speed up people's asses, because then they think they're getting followed by a cop, and you'd see them freak out and either pump the brakes or pull over into the far left lane to get away from me. And then I'd just hoon it down because they're quick.
Yeah, sure.
They're like 220 kilowatt.
Yep.
V6. The only shit thing was they were front wheel drive.
Mm,
But this thing had like a sunroof, like
proper.
leather seats.
Yeah.
It was nice.
So that was like with my first
And
car.
then I went to a van.
We won't unpack that one.
I bought a Hyundai iLoad.
We won't. You don't want to be the van guy.
Put a bed in the back.
Oh no.
Yeah. Then I had a Ranger. Now I have a station wagon with a cage.
You've had some very interesting choices of cars. Gone through a few phases there of life in a short amount of cars. Yeah. First car that I had was a 96 Commodore.
Mine was a 96 as well.
Yep. I had the VSS series.
Oh, that would have loved to.
Dude, mate, it sucked to drive for sure. That was literally the first words that my uncle said to me when I got that car. He's like, now they're powerful cars. And I was like, yeah. But like, until you're going around a roundabout in the wet, you don't fully understand what he meant until that moment when it kicks out from underneath you and you don't know what the fuck to do.
See, my front wheel drive Swift didn't have that issue.
No.
It just had the issue of when I'd pump the brakes, because my tyres were generally bald, it'd just slide.
Oh, yeah.
It'd lock up.
That's a commonality on most cars.
The amount of times I'd be zipping around Palm Beach in the rain, and then it'd just fucking pump the brakes because someone's coming to a roundabout, and I just slide, and I'm like, good.
Those small little boxy cars, though.
They go so hard.
Dude, they're perfect for some handbrakey turns. You know what I mean? Like if you're in the wet, just pump the handbrake a little bit, get a little bit of kick out, because you'll kick out at the back there. You know what I mean? You'll get the proper slide happening.
Yeah.
Are you on your phone?
No, I was putting it on Do Not Disturb.
All right. Maybe we should have done that before we started.
Well, I had client text me. I thought I put it on Do Not Disturb.
Okay, that's all right.
Edit that out there.
So anyway, we're moving on to some...
We do have a topic for today.
We do have a topic. We've also got... We'll shout out the Nexus games, 9th of December. We will shout that out again. We're not going to shout out the TSV Novice anymore because we believe that by the time this podcast comes out, it's done. It was great. Everyone had a good time.
We will also shout out Reese Maston on the 9th of December, also at the Burley Town Hotel. Please, can someone come to me with Reese Maston?
That's also a correction. The Burley Town Hotel. I actually had the manager of the Burley Town Hotel come by last week. We had a meeting just to confirm a few details for the Nexus games.
Is it not Burley Town Tavern?
Burley Town Hotel.
Oh, good. Yeah, good.
He corrected me because on all the content and posters I've been putting around the place said Burley Heads Tavern. That's incorrect. That was, I think, the old name, or is that because there's the Burley Hotel?
There's Burley Heads Hotel, which is right on Burls. If you ever want to get into a fight on a Friday or Saturday night, just go there.
That's the place to go.
Yeah.
Yep. But I think the Burley, I'm getting so confused.
It doesn't matter. It's just the Burley Town Hotel.
Burley Town Hotel.
That's all that matters.
Confirmed.
Reese Maston is playing
Maston
at the Nexus games.
Yep. He's going to compete.
And he's playing. He's the after party for the Nexus games.
Yep. So it's going to be sick. We'll get some speed dealer sunnies for that event.
I can't wait. I love Reese Maston. Ever since,
would.
I think he was on X Factor.
I had no idea.
Great.
I only know the name and his...
he was dating one of the really good-looking chicks off Home and Away as well.
Terrible music, yeah. Oh, okay. Starting to connect a few dots for me. Not that I watched Home Away. My grandma did. She loved
had
it.
the long hair, long fringe, massive gap in his teeth.
Sounds very early
He's
2000s.
from England. Yeah.
Proper.
Yeah.
Lad.
Proper, poppy punks sort of spec.
Eshe kid.
Nah, not Eshe.
No?
No, Eshe's weren't cool back then. Eshe's used to be a joke.
I don't think they've ever been cool.
Well...
They think they're cool.
Oh, don't say that too loud or we're going to get jumped out the front. If anyone listens to this, that was Alex, not me.
I'll see you at the pit for Reese Maston.
What else do we have coming up? We've still got, by the time this comes out, it'll probably either be the week of or just have finished with the Valhalla Spring Cup. And the battle in Valhalla. A bunch of us are all competing. Yeah. So that'll be good. Managed to pull 300 last week.
Pull dead. Yep.
Yeah, pull deadlift 300 kilos, which was nice.
That was a great moment.
Yeah, great for everyone. And then Hans comes and does 320. So thanks for that, Honza. Couldn't let me have it.
He had an excellent G up for that. Got Blake to give him a good old slap
I
on
did
the
see
back.
that, yeah. I think that's cheating. I'm going to need to check the rules.
I can slap you. We'll call it.
No, I don't like
even.
getting touched. Just don't touch me.
You got to take what you can, right? So we've got, and that was fucking after Hans's 320 as well, because he was pretty, on.
Jittery.
Yes. And I was like, sit down, take a moment or whatever. And he gets up to go turn the music down. leg gives out underneath him. He nearly falls over. I was like, bro, sit down.
He just straight messages me and goes 325 in comp. I was like, why don't we get through squat and bench first and see where we're at? He's like, oh, no. Oh, okay.
Well, like that's because he did his last warm up at 300, and I asked him, I'm like, what are you going to do? Because it was obviously between probably 315. He did 310 last week, 315 and 320, and I said 315 is definitely there, and he gives me that, like he's not interested in that number. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, you're thinking 3, and he's like,
he can't go up in 5s. I've worked that out with Honj. You can't keep him to 5s.
10s only.
He hates it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had to work that out very quickly.
Well, what does he want? 325? Why not 330?
I don't know.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens on the day.
That'll be
got to get him there. It's going to be a big day.
It'll be a fun coaching experience for you.
Over an 800 total for him, which is a goal, so that's going to be sick.
He's looking like that's well
he's already there.
Yeah, he's well on.
300 squat this week, 320 dead. Bench somewhere around 170.
Ridiculous.
That's bang on 800.
Yeah, he's there.
Basically, yeah. Or just under maybe, 790.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that day. It'll be good.
It's going to be a good weekend.
Yeah.
Going to be very busy.
Very busy weekend. So we're going to talk about the topic of today is I have a holiday coming up. Can I still train and not lose my gains?
No, it's actually over. So once you go on holiday,
yeah,
any gain you've ever made is null and void.
Yeah.
And so when you get back, you actually have to start at the bottom.
Yeah.
Which is good, though, because you get newbie gains. So that resets. Yeah.
Well, it depends how long you're having that holiday, but in the context of the conversation here of having a holiday and, can I still train? No, it's over.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah,
Sorry.
Can't train on holidays either.
That, of course, is the facetious answer. It's just even the
podcast done. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you. See you next week.
Or never again.
I came for the tips.
Never be invited back.
Yeah. The short answer is yes, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. It's definitely possible. And then, again, it's just going to come down to sort of the phase of training you're in.
Yep.
Where you're at.
There's a few factors, but let's talk about that first.
Yeah, so I guess you could split it into two main categories. One would be, I guess, quote-unquote, off-season, and one would be in-season.
Mm-hmm.
So, i.e., you have a competition coming up in the next 12 weeks.
Yep.
Or your competition is quite a long way away.
Yep.
Both of which are going to have a little bit of a different sort of flavor to them in relation to like what you're looking at with programming and things like that. Obviously, within the 12 weeks of a comp, you want to try and minimize as many variables as you can and try and control as many things that you can.
Probably don't, if you can, maybe avoid planning your holiday in the middle of comp prep.
Yes. Unfortunately, sometimes it can't be avoided.
For sure.
Which is absolutely something we'll jump into as well. But I think it just comes down to just having that, again, open conversation with your coach and being like, all right, cool, this is the comp. I've got a holiday booked at this point. If you're going to go for like 4 weeks to Europe on a boys trip, probably not the time to also be trying to compete.
No.
But if you got like a week away with the missus and you're just going on a nice relaxing holiday somewhere, it's probably okay.
Yeah.
If you're in prep.
Yeah. And I guess it also, if you are in prep, it's like, okay, cool. Like, do you have access to a good gym or something with maybe at least some decent equipment or at least some decent load? Because we know that if you're traveling and maybe going through hotel gyms, there's probably not a barbell in sight.
No.
The dumbbells probably go up to 20.
I've seen some hotel gyms in there.
Yeah. You got the treadmill, maybe a couple machines, some leg extensions, a couple of med balls.
Yeah, there was one I stayed at last year, Emporium in Brisbane. That had probably the nicest hotel gym I've ever seen. It was like right on one of the top floors, looking out over the city,
Nice.
filled with techno gym equipment.
Yeah.
I think they had dumbbells from 1 to 8. That was it. Everything else was just like pin-loaded equipment.
This is one of the nicest.
And this is one of the nicest ones. Oh, just a nice layout and nice view,
Okay.
I guess you could say.
Not nice as in terms
Oh,
of
horribly equipped.
8
If
kilo.
they want to contact me, I can set them up.
Yep.
Tell them what to get.
Get them a hookup.
I don't know how happy they'd be about people deadlifting at like 50 stories up.
I guess that's also a factor. I guess the hard part there as well, even just thinking logistically, how do you get the heaviest equipment up to the top floor? Like, what are the elevators rated for?
Those things that like what I think most standard elevators in hotels and stuff are like 1,100 kilos.
Okay,
so that's not like that's pretty
good.
You could still get even if we looked at like our Atlantis, like even if we looked at our Prodigy rack, if you took that thing up in 2 pieces, you'd be fine.
Yep.
It's only what 250 kilos
I think
of weights, and then
in pieces.
yeah,
it's
two. Like you just put the two halves.
Yeah.
I think you'd be fine.
Yeah. Like I had this vision of like, the elevator door opens at 48 and there's some guy in the combo in there benching. He's got a couple plates on each side.
Ammonia. You just smell nothing but ammonia. There's baby powder everywhere.
Chalk in the fucking,
PRER on the 50th floor.
I think the hotel staff would probably take issue with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But on that, like with relation to trying to find a gym and things like that, with the world the way it is now, with how connected and everything is with social media, it's very easy. Like if you know where you're going, you just plug it into social media. Okay, let's say we're going on a trip. I don't know. Where's somewhere nice? We're going to Bali. The
Okay.
typical Australian holiday.
Yep, perfect.
Bali, you want to stay, I don't know.
Canggu.
Yeah, perfect. Canggu, Bali, gym.
Yep.
Google it.
There's heaps.
Sure, there's a heap of them.
Yep.
You go to their Instagrams.
Yep.
Find one you like.
Yep.
Go in. There you go.
Done.
Bit of research.
Keep your gains.
Yeah.
Sorted holiday.
Keep
Canggu.
your gains.
Yep.
And then, especially like, again, this is more, I guess, in season. So coming up to a competition, things like that. Theoretically, all you realistically need is a barbell.
Yeah.
For majority of your movement. Squat, bench, and deadlift.
Some plates.
Yeah, plates would be nice too. I'm sure they don't just have random just barbells on their own.
I will have the caveat to Canggu, but I went to a couple of gyms when I was over there a few years back before COVID. Got the opportunity to get out and go to Bali and hang out. And I remember the bench was almost, I'm trying to show the camera here, but also just talking about a matter of like 15 centimeters worth of bench for you to sit on and do your bench press. Maybe not the most stable,
No.
but at the end of the day as well, it's at least there's a bench and barbells, right?
Yeah, I remember I was staying on Nusa Lembongan, and I remember Googling like gym because I was like, this is way back in the day when I was more of a Cali boy. And I remember Googling gym, and I was like, I'd probably like to go to the gym while I'm here. And we walked up a hill, and I found the gym. It was called like Hammer Fit or Hammer Time or something weird. And it was like this dingy little like, I don't know, shell, like just a concrete block. And I looked in the windows. It was dirt floors, rust on every bit of machinery. Like there was no machine was free of rust. Dumbbells were scattered everywhere. Plates were all over the floor. It was nothing but locals in there. I didn't even know, like, for the most part, that they go to the gym. And
They keep fit. They have to.
Well, it's more like generally find most of the locals, especially on the smaller islands and stuff, don't have the money for that stuff.
Right.
Like that's a bit of a luxury for them.
Sure.
And I was like, no, you know what? I'm pretty okay. I'll just keep strolling around the island for the time I'm here. I'm good.
Well, obviously as well, that's the context of maybe not being like you obviously weren't doing powerlifting back then, but in the context of being out of prep and maybe more in off season when you're not doing as much barbell work, you're obviously not throwing as much intensity at your training, maybe a little bit more volume and maybe it's fine to look inside the windows of this gym that isn't too set up and well equipped and go, hey, maybe I'll just go for a longer walk today or something, or go do some other form of activity, right?
Yeah, I think it's super important to understand that, like, and I have this conversation with clients all the time when it comes to being sick or having a few days off or having to go and do something, or they might be traveling for a few days for work or anything along these lines where, like, you may be out of the gym for, let's just say 3 to 7 days. Like, let's keep it a small time frame. You might miss 3 to 7 days of training. It's super important to understand that, like, realistically, in the grand scheme of things, it does not matter. Like, missing a week of training doesn't matter. Training is just a percentage of averages over the long term.
Yeah.
One missed week doesn't make up for 7, 8, 9, 10 years of training.
Right.
And in retrospect, one great week also doesn't make up for like a really shitty amount of time training. You know what I mean? So It's like everything's just a percentage of averages with whatever we do. Like we just get better at things because we do them more often and things like that. Things get better. So missing 3 to 7 days isn't really going to matter that much.
No.
Whether you're sick, whether you're traveling, like it's nice to sometimes just take time away from the gym.
You might even argue that if you are someone who has been pushing it pretty hard for 10 years, maybe a week off is a good thing for you, especially if you're on holiday, you're doing things that are a little bit different, out of your routine, out of the norm. Maybe and we can talk about the diet side of the equation, but being maybe a little bit more relaxed with your food, a little bit less strict on maybe calorie counting and tracking and things like that. from a psychological perspective, that can be an absolute godsend to then help you that when you do get back, you're a bit fresher and ready to kind of build up again and hit the ground running, as opposed to, oh, I've been away and I was really stressing about food and training and getting to the gym, and you kind of just ended up ruining your holiday a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. No one wants to be the guy that's on holidays and then they're not eating because they're too worried about what they can eat. They're not doing any activities because they're just too worried about trying to get to the gym.
It's like, why did you go on holiday then?
Yeah, just stay here and do that on your own.
Yeah.
Take some time off and just probably going to be easier for you. But I guess it comes down to like, again, it comes down to the conversation of like whether you're in season or not. If you're on prep and you're within 6 weeks out, probably a good idea to like worry a little bit about getting into the gym.
Yeah.
But even then, like it's an hour and a half, 2 hours out of the day. Get up, go in the morning.
Get it done.
Yep. Go and do activities, like go and do things when you're on holidays. Spend the time with the people you're there with, like as Alex mentioned, like the psychological benefits. Psychological benefits in relation to like social time and spending time outdoors and spending time doing activities that bring dopamine and things like that, like so much more beneficial than you sitting at home.
Yep.
Oh, I can't go do that.
Yeah, well, like that's something that I've found really interesting when I went to Bali. We went to Canggu, and maybe you go through some of the more popular influencer type areas or whatever. And granted, there's a lot of people that live there and that's their lifestyle every day, and gym is a part of their life. Cool, go to they're not on holiday at that point. We're not talking about those people, but you do see a lot of people in particular, whether it's hotel gyms, whether it's some of these other gyms, that people then would go to the gym on their holiday and walk on the treadmill looking out through the window at this beautiful environment and holiday destination. Like, why did you not just go out for a walk in nature or get to... It's like
pay 25 Australian dollars to go and stand on a treadmill
and look out at the holiday that you could be having.
That one, I don't reckon we can dive into that one today.
That's another
topic for another day, unfortunately.
Yep.
But just looking at the training side of things and things like that as well, especially like if we go back to the being in the off season, like being in an off season, generally speaking, like we're doing variations, bit of machine work, having a bit of fun with it, things like that. Minimize, like if you're doing like 3 to 5 days of training, 3 to 5 day split, whatever it might be, there's nothing stopping you from just doing a 3-day full body split.
Yep.
Just to keep maintaining. Like if you're really worried about losing potential gains or whatever it might be, and you're only going for a week or two, like 6 days, 6 sessions, 6 to like 9 hours, depending on how much time you spend in the gym over the course of that 2 weeks while you're on holidays. That's sweet.
That's more than enough.
Yeah, more than enough to maintain a little bit. You're probably going to come back well rested. You're probably going to come back mentally refreshed, and you're able to just hit it harder. Like there's definitely a benefit to just a little bit of a reduction.
Well, those down weeks or like kind of active rest periods is something that you should probably still take every so often, maybe once depending on how hard you're training, and depends on the layout of your maybe seasonal, when you're going into competition and how you're kind of laying it out and such. But from like a minimal effective dose point, like it doesn't take much to maintain stuff, right?
No, not at all. And like generally for myself, I will take like a week or two off after comp.
Right.
I'm just so mentally done.
Yeah.
Mentally and physically exhausted. And that could just be me. Like I know heaps of people who they'll finish their comp and they're like, oh, I was back in the gym Monday.
Yeah.
If that's you, have at it. Like,
sure.
Not telling you that you need to go and take time off after comp, but it's definitely not a bad thing to, at some point through the year, just take some time off, take some time away from training, take some like valuable mental health time.
Yep. So maybe as well at that point you could line up to be a holiday period for you as well. That's a good time for a lot of people to go away. We just had Joey did Zero Pro recently, right? And then she went to Japan for a week or two.
I had my client Chase who competed recently, and then he's gone to Japan as well for 2 weeks.
Everyone's going to Japan.
Yeah, I'm going to Japan in June.
There you go.
Yeah.
Is that after comp?
Nah, depending on how this comp goes, it could be before the start of prep for the next comp.
So also probably a good time.
Perfect time. Yeah. When I went to Bali, it was trained really hard up to Bali, and then I was in Bali for 2 weeks, and then I was like, okay, the week after I get back from Bali, knowing I'll probably not have trained much while I was over there, I'll spend the first sort of 3 to 4 days just getting my body moving again, like, loosen up a little bit, put my body through some ranges. And then I started a new program on that Monday and hit it like hard as.
Yep.
So
Perfect.
just like planning it out.
Well, that's something that we always talk about is just having a plan with your training.
Yes. And it's something we ask all of our clients and members as well. Is like, I think it's on every questionnaire we have. Do you have any events, holidays, or anything coming up in the next 12 weeks?
Yeah. Because if so, maybe we could plan around that and make it a little bit more effective rather than you coming up to this holiday and then going, oh shit, I'm going away. What do I do? And they've got a million questions and they're stressing about it. And it's like, well, there's nothing to stress about. But also, if we had a little bit more time maybe to plan it out in advance.
You plan it out. What I'll generally do with my clients, okay, so if they're coming up to, if they've got a holiday coming up, we already know the dates, everything's perfect. What we'll generally try and do is line up a deload for that. Yep. If they're going on holidays for 2 weeks, we generally line up a deload for the first week. 9 times out of 10 is what I'll try and do. If they're going on holidays for a week, I'll just deload that whole week. Like Shah, she just, we were training and she was coming back in from work. So she was out West Queensland for her job. She was moving back to the Gold Coast before she moved back here. Yep. She was going on holidays to Bali. So we knew that we had a 6-week block. And generally speaking, I'll try and look to deload clients between 4 to 6 weeks, somewhere depending on their response and where they're at with prep and things like that. Generally 4 to 6 weeks is a pretty rough timeline. So for her, although I knew us pushing for that 6 weeks was going to be a little bit more difficult and things were going to be a little bit more fatiguing towards the back end, we also knew that she had 2 weeks of holidays in Bali where we just planned super low training. She was also coming up to do her 10K Bridge to Brisbane. Bridge to Brisbane. So it's kind of like, okay, cool. We're going to push really hard for this block here. We've got 2 weeks of like a deload, active recovery. Like she was still running and doing activities and they were going and doing the touristy stuff and things like that as well. And then, okay, cool. Now we're going to the run. Now we're back into training and we're pushing again. And I know that her and George worked together as well with nutrition and they did the exact same thing from a nutritional perspective. So they had her in a cut all the way up until the week she went to Bali. Then she went to maintenance. So they've done all the work had the timeline set. Perfect. Here's the schedule. Maintenance, push through, coming back post-run, decide from there. But it's just about having that timeline, that schedule, and like letting your coach know from both nutrition and a training perspective, like, okay, cool, I've got this coming up on these dates. All right, well, this is how we can plan this block. This is how we can plan this block.
Yeah.
I just planned Andrew and Ella's blocks yesterday, right up until they leave to go back to Melbourne in December. We sat down and I said, okay, cool. So Ella's goal at the moment is to do an Ironman. So we're essentially in more of like a bit of a maintenance phase with relation to her strength training, just sort of doing the things in which, training the areas in which she's not necessarily getting a lot of in her Ironman training.
Yep.
Obviously, Ironman is swim, ride, run.
Yep.
A lot of internal rotation, a lot of lats, a lot of things like that.
Yep.
So we're looking on really sort of just trying to expand, strengthen up through her upper back and things like that to like really keep her posture right and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, with training like that, it's part and parcel with sort of what happens. Whereas Andrew's looking to push his strength.
Yep.
So we're going to push him to more or less like do a little bit of 1RM testing towards the back end.
Cool.
So we've programmed both of them, similar goals. Ella's maintaining, Andrew's going to push. We've got the timeline set over the next 5 weeks, 6 weeks to where we're going to. We then know, okay, cool. Once we reach December, they're going to go to more or less of a maintenance thing. Social trips, seeing people, business meetings, all of that sort of stuff are going to preoccupy a majority of their time. So we sat down yesterday and I said, okay, cool. So you guys, let's just do, they're doing 3 full body days at the moment because they're both quite busy. Plus Ella has a bunch of other training on top. So let's continue the 3 full body days, more or less at a maintenance. We're going to have you guys get up first thing in the morning, go to the gym.
Yep.
Done.
Yep.
Hour done.
Yep.
It's tops.
Yep.
Continue on the rest of your day.
Yep.
So you don't miss out on anything. And I was like, I don't want you guys to miss out. And they're not the type of people to like miss out on going out on social events and things anyway.
Right.
Which is perfect. I'm all for it. I think if you're going on holidays and you're out and about, like have at it.
I'll also add to that they've been doing so well with their training and so motivated to keep that moving that even just back on the point before about planning ahead and researching gyms in your holiday destinations, before they went out the door the other day, said, Alex, you're from Melbourne. We're going down to Melbourne for this amount of time. We're staying in this area. Could you recommend a gym that would be suited for our training while we're down there? I recommended South Yarra Strength. Shout out to South Yarra Strength, Danae down there, because they're in that area. It's just, I think it's like a 15-minute walk for them.
Yeah, which is perfect for them because they'll get up and walk.
They'll get up and walk.
They'll get up and walk to the
They'll
gym.
get it done. They'll go get that hour done. We know that they're going to be looked after. I said, hey, just give them a reach out. Let them know that you're coming down. These are the dates. They're organised. They're sorted. They've got training sorted. They've got the plan sorted. You know, they know what's going on. There's going to be a lot less stress for them now as a result of that, so they can go and enjoy all the other things they want to do on the holiday.
Yeah, and that was literally the conversation. They were both like, "Oh, you know, we're training. Like, I don't want to really miss out, but I don't want to like do this." And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "What time do you guys get up?" Sweet. First hour of the day.
Yeah.
Straight to the gym. 3 days a week. That's it. Done. Their sessions top out about an hour anyway. Like, it's hard when you're quite busy to do more than that. And they're making phenomenal progress, both of them. And it just comes down to like showing their organization. Like Andrew sent to me a list of dates and he said, okay, this is where we're at. This is the schedule. One of the most organized people I've ever met in my life.
I was literally going to say that, yeah.
And everything was like, and I was like, perfect. That is great. Because now I know where we're at. Now I can help you to get to where you want to be and accommodate for all of this.
Just another little side note, because we always bring back things on this podcast, I find, to just the importance of coaching and having good people around you for that kind of support is just that, you know, the more organized that you are and the more that you can communicate with your coach, the more information we have to work with. The hardest program to write is someone who's, how was everything? Good. What do you want to work on? Yes. You know, and you're like, sure. Like, you know, we can, you know, we can.
Did you enjoy training? Yes.
Yes.
Anything we can change? Yes.
Yes. What is it? Yes. Any additional comments? NA.
Yeah. Thanks. This is perfect.
Yeah.
Hey, where's my program? Where are my answers?
Where's the information to help lead us into the program that you are looking for? Because sometimes as well that people may have an idea of what they want, but maybe just don't communicate that too effectively, which just makes our job effectively just that little bit harder. And sometimes we kind of have to take the reins a little bit and help guide and set goals and things like that.
Communication is a very, very important quality.
Very underrated.
Very underrated.
Very underrated.
Very underutilized.
Yep.
In today's day and age.
We're not calling anyone out here in particular, but you gym members, no, we're joking. That's fine.
There's a lot of people you could call out on that one, but we're going to leave that for another day.
Yeah.
Communication is key.
Yeah.
Communicate. If you want to go on holidays, don't feel like I've seen people as well, like way back in the day when I worked a little bit more with more Gen Poppy people, working at a commercial gym, and I was also doing a little bit more of the nutrition side of things and stuff like that. Like there was people who wouldn't tell me they were going on holidays because they were like so scared that I was going to be like, no. And I'm like, what? Like, man, if anyone follows me on Instagram, they know I'm not the type of person to turn down a burger or like any food really. Anything at all. Yep. Enjoyment, social outings. Not that I'm a very social guy, but
maybe not the best example.
Probably not the best example for that. But back in the day, I was a little bit more social, and like even when I used to cut and things like that, like I'm coming up post comp, like George and me already had a discussion around it. And my goal post comp is to shred, like actual lean abs, cut off all the shit that I've been bulking essentially for what, like 5 years straight or something.
Hadn't noticed.
Yeah. Looking healthy. But no, like it's just been, you know, it's been the sort of the pursuit of what the goal has been targeted towards. And now the goal is, okay, we're going to do a cut. I've got a hernia surgery coming up in January. So I get both my hernias repaired. So we know, okay, this is the timeline for this. Then we're going to probably need to go back to a little bit of maintenance because like essentially, obviously we're going to not want to be in a deficit when I'm trying to recover from surgery because we want to try to give the body the best chance to recover. So, okay, cool. If let's say the surgery is booked for January 20th. Okay, cool. We've got until January 20th. Cut up until then. Go from there. Now, that's not necessarily a holiday, but it is going to affect my training and my nutrition because it's going to be at least 4 to 8 weeks before I can train properly. Minimum. And that's like best case scenario. So, again, I'll sit down with Will and I'll sit down with George and we'll structure out a plan and we'll come up with some sort of plan of attack. I'll working closely with Ash, our physio here, to come up with like a little bit of a rehab protocol to help strengthen up through the abdominals again and things like that because they're just going to be a little bit weaker, obviously post-surgery. So it's just like knowing when these things are going to happen and planning for that is like paramount.
Especially just utilizing all of those resources around you and support networks to create yourself if nothing else, but a better plan that you're more confident in as well.
Yeah. And the more information that you give us as coaches, the more we're able to help you. Like if you kind of just do the whole, oh no, it's fine, don't worry about it. And then it's kind of like, well, how can I help? Oh no, it's fine, don't worry. And then you come back later and you're like, oh, I don't think you helped me enough. It's like, oh, okay, where? And as a coach, like you always just accept sometimes, okay, cool. Where do you think I could have helped you more? Have that open conversation with them. Okay, if you think that I may not have helped you enough, where do you think I could have helped you more? It's a learning experience. There actually might have been things that you missed, and things where you could have probably been like, you know what, I probably could have done that. It's just about having that conversation.
It's also like we're asking because we genuinely do want to help, and also it's a process of learning and progression for you as a coach as well, right? Because the more of these conversations that you can have, and the more things that you can figure out, and the more gaps you can fill, the more well-rounded as a coach you are as well.
Yeah,
and you can then pass that on to the other people that you're working with, and the next people that come through. And yeah, I don't know. That is a common one that we kind of often see, is that people are sometimes maybe embarrassed to talk about some of these issues that they're having, or afraid to ask for help, even though they're paying good money for help.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's a big one.
That is a big one.
Yeah, massive one is like they're paying for a service, but they're afraid to fully utilize that service. And I've seen it happen a couple of times recently with some health stuff with my clients. And like, I'm very open with all my clients, like with their health stuff and things like that. I'm like, I don't ever want you to be embarrassed, no matter what it is. Come and talk to me, because it matters, and it can affect what we're trying to work towards from a programming perspective, might even be from a nutritional perspective, and like understanding like, hey, this person can't eat perfectly for this week. They've got whatever's going on. That's not the week to flog them. Right. That's the week to be like, okay, cool, let's dial some things back. But if I didn't have that, if that person didn't come to me and tell me, and I had no idea, and then they rock up to their sessions and they're just like dog shit, and I'm just like, what is happening? Like, what is going on? Why?
You start to question that as a coach. It's like, hey, have we done something?
100%. You're like, fuck, what have I done? Like,
Yeah.
I've done it multiple times as a coach where I'm like, have I done something wrong? Like, have I trained you too hard? Is it on me?
What have I missed?
Yeah. And you sort of like run these things through your head, and then it comes back. It's like, oh yeah, no, I haven't eaten this whole week and I haven't slept. It's like, oh, cool. This is probably the week where we may not have even trained. Like,
yeah,
probably could have done with some extra rest time.
It's like the, when you get into like a PT session and you get in the general chit chat, like, hey, how you been? What's been going on? Like, that's from a place of like, yeah, we want to know and we care, and we obviously have a good relationship with these people and we want to foster that. But it's also kind of just getting a little bit of background of maybe some of the things that we have missed, or some of the things that you aren't telling us. Yeah. And that's maybe not even by intention, but just, and sometimes you just got to ask a few questions just to kind of get to that, you know what I mean? And like, especially if they do come in maybe a little bit flat and you notice that and you're like, hey, what's going on? Oh, not much or whatever. I'm like, oh, how's work been? It's like, that's actually been a little bit stressful, and this has been I actually got fired for my job. You're like, whoa, shit. You're like,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you sometimes you have to,
social model.
Yeah, and you just got to dig yourself a few questions deeper to really uncover what is going on.
Yes.
So that you can make better decisions as well. It's not like we're being nosy for the sake of being nosy, right?
Yeah. And it's like, even, I guess, coming from a perspective of a male coach with female clients, obviously we understand that you deal with periods. And with that can come, some females deal with it really badly, like badly in the sense that like they have bad symptoms, not that they deal with it poorly. Don't think that.
Cut that one, Tam.
Cut that. Shit. No. So I mean, in terms of like, some people are really affected by their period. And yeah. I've got plenty of clients who are quite well versed in understanding, their cycle and how they feel through different phases and things like that. And there's been multiple conversations I've had with clients. And when I was a newer coach, when I first started in the industry, and I had like a coach / mentor, he sort of mentioned to me, he's like, do you ever ask your clients if they've got their periods? And I was like, nah, that's private. Like, you can't ask. And I felt awkward because I was a 21-year-old guy. Like, I was basically a kid. And I'm asking a 35-year-old mother of 2 about her period. Like, to me, that was weird at that point. Now I'm just like, sweet, where are you at in your cycle? Like, what's going on? Okay, you're at this page. Normally, I know that you struggle through this week. Let's tone it down a bit. Like, let's dial it back. You're feeling really strong? Sweet, let's push. Like, this is the time to have those conversations, and like especially from a client and a female perspective, don't be afraid to sort of have a little bit of that discussion. Like obviously you guys don't need to dive deep into everything, but have that conversation with your coach, male or female, because at the end of the day, it can have an effect. And if it's something that's affecting you and can affect the way in which you're training or responding to programming, again, both nutritionally and from training perspectives, then it's like definitely something we need to know.
I remember one gym member here in particular that she had a pretty good understanding of her cycle and how she responded to training during those certain periods. And generally with the month-to-month stuff, we have a little bit of a down week on week one just to kind of keep the flow of training moving a little bit more productively. We have to deload less frequently, et cetera, et cetera. And I just kind of not lined that up so much with her cycle in that period where she, felt like a down week was more appropriate. So we flipped that. Instead of week 1, it was week 4 or something to that effect. And as soon as we flipped that around, we had almost no issues. And, as long as she was on point with the schedule, both from training and her own cycle, everything lined up every time. And when it didn't, I just gave her a couple of, here's what you can do in that week, that if it comes a little bit earlier or a little bit later, to adjust things and then just pick up kind of where we left off.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And it comes down again, like especially through comp preps and stuff like that. Having that conversation, understanding, okay, cool. How does it affect you? Does it affect you greatly? Okay. Well, let's see what we can do to adjust these things so that you're not like coming into your heaviest week and you're feeling like dog shit and weak as, because that's the part of cycle you're in. And just, having that understanding really does help. And then it also, I guess, from a client perspective as well, like to know that your coach cares that much and like genuinely, like I think it shows it comes from a place of like genuinely caring. Like we do this because we care. We do our jobs because we'd like to see people achieve results. We're not doing this just because it's fun to hang out in a gym, which it is. Like it's pretty fun to hang out in a gym all day.
I'd hope so if I'm here 6 days a week.
Yeah. Maybe for you, but I like coming to hang out. This is my social time. But it just comes down to like just understanding that like, okay, this is coming from a place of like caring. Like, this person really cares about my results.
Yeah. We've got a couple extra things here just on the nutrition side that are probably worth mentioning as well. Like, we've obviously talked about some planning in advance, but a few extra things that you could probably do for planning in advance from a nutrition perspective. What's a couple of things right off the top of your head that you would just be thinking about when you're on holiday, from a nutrition perspective? What are a few things that you should still prioritize, and how could you do those from a, maybe a less aggressive standpoint so you can still enjoy your holiday?
Don't be in a deficit.
Cool.
Number 1.
Yep.
Protein first.
Yep.
And then I would just essentially look to try and hit veggies and fruits.
Cool. It's
as simple, it's easy as that.
Yeah.
I genuinely think that that's it.
Yeah.
Because like, again, it comes down to like, you don't want to restrict someone. You don't want to turn around and be like, okay, well, you're going for a 2-week holiday. Well, you're actually going to be in a deficit for the first 10 days you're there. And you're not allowed to have this and you're not allowed to have that. And then that person goes and they're just like, they hate their time.
You can't enjoy meals out.
You can't enjoy it. Like the amount of readily available protein sources, and this is around the world now, like readily available protein sources are through the roof, from like your YoPros, from all your protein drinks, the RTDs, all of that sort of stuff. Like it's so easy to get. So many other countries as well will literally just have like packets of chicken, packets of beef.
Yep.
If you're vegan or vegetarian, chickpeas or something. I don't know what they eat.
Tofu. Just get a block of tofu and carry that around.
Yeah, carry that around for the day. But
Take
like
it's
not, it's easy to do. Like you just need, like just every time you go, if you're like going to go out for breakfast or whatever, just have a bit of a protein smoothie with it or something.
Yep. Order the eggs. Get some eggs.
And this isn't, you don't need to be pedantic. You don't need to be tracking every day. You don't need to be any of that stuff. Just try and be at maintenance.
Yep.
Because you don't want to be in a deficit.
Yep.
Try and nail protein first. Depending on what sort of phase you're in, just around the 1.6 to 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight, or whatever your coach has you on at that point. And then just look to include fruit and veggies with every meal.
Yep.
You go to some of these tropical places, like you go to a Bali or a Thailand or anything like that, like there's not a shortage of fruit.
Oh, not at all.
You go to any breakfast place and you can pay like $1.50 and get this massive fruit smoothie that's loaded full of fresh fruit. Perfect. You just hit all your servings in one meal.
Yep.
Grab a bacon and egg breakfast roll, fruit smoothie. You rip a start to the day.
Yep.
And same with the majority of other countries as well. Like there's so many different places you can just grab fresh fruit and veg.
Especially nowadays as well with like, and we'll even shout out to My Muscle Chef, discount code Nexus 10 at checkout. I think it's 10. It might be 20.
No, I'm pretty sure it's 10.
I think it's 10. Like there are so many companies and stuff that offer ready-made meals that you could take with you on the go that, hey, maybe that's a little bit less enjoyable than going out and experiencing social meals and trying new restaurants and stuff. But maybe you don't want to do that the whole time either. And maybe you're a little bit more on the move for that day. You're planning an outing or something. But there are so many options that you can do. And again, we talked about just planning and preparing in advance. Just don't get caught out in that situation where you might stress about it and then have to worry. And just plan a little bit in advance. It doesn't take much effort to be a little bit more organized so you don't have to worry and stress about these things.
No, I remember when I went down to Breakthrough with Will and Mickey last year, and one of the first things we did as soon as we pulled up was we were only there for 4 days, I think. I think we got there on the Thursday. We went straight to Woolworths. And I was just like, here's me. I was like, I'm just going to eat out, whatever. I don't really care. And Mickey's like, well, I'm getting this, and this. And, of course, Wilbo had whatever Mickey got. So I was just like, oh, okay, I'm going to get that too.
Right.
It was the most organized I've ever been. I was having, like, chicken rolls with salad and stuff on them. Like, I think we still ate out, like, a couple of times. But it wasn't every meal, which saved me lots of money, which is great.
Good.
But was never hungry. Ate, like, fairly decent the whole time. And it honestly didn't take that much effort. Like, there's so many easy options. You can do roast chicken rolls with salad. You buy a bag of salad, a roast chook, thing of rolls. That'll last you 2 to 3 days.
I think that was a go-to meal that we had up in Townsville when I traveled with them as well, actually.
I think it's a go-to.
That's a staple.
In just life.
Yeah.
I think it's a good meal. Like, it's a decent amount of protein.
Yep.
Get some fruit and veg into your day.
Carbs in there.
Yeah, carbs. Like, it's all these sort of things. Like, you grab your Rockaby drinks and you just add one of those to one of the meals to just boost the protein intake and things like that. Yep. That would, 100%. That'd be just those first 3 things. Don't be in a deficit. Hit protein, fruit and veg.
Yeah, and it's like, we're talking about that in the sense of maybe there's a couple of targets in the back of your mind, but it's not meticulous tracking. Like if you're out on your holiday and you got MyFitPal out at the dinner table and I don't know, I think that's just it starts to, maybe there's some people as well, and we're not excluding everyone from the conversation, but like, maybe that is where you get your enjoyment from. Maybe that is part of your enjoyment and ticking that box and that goal across your holiday. And you were like, I still was able to do that. But I don't know. I know for me that was probably the last thing that I want to be doing is stressing about fucking crunching numbers at the dinner table and just going, you know what? Here's a couple of things that hit those targets for me. I'm satisfied with that. That'll do.
Yeah. See, I'm the other end. Like I'm pretty pedantic. So my fitness power record at the moment is like 1,500 days.
Wow.
Straight.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I've tracked every day for 1,500 days to some degree. Well, in saying that, like there's a majority of the days where I just eat the same thing. So I don't need to necessarily meticulously track every meal. If I've eaten the same thing 6 days straight, I just do the little swipe across so it continues the streak on because I'm like, well, technically I am tracking this day. It's just I don't need to put it into the app. And it also does help like when you are away and things like that. And it's just like, okay, cool. I'm going to be here for 5 days. Go to the shops, grab yourself some food, grab yourself a My Muscle Chef meal, or maybe 2. Grab yourself a couple of Rockabies, roast chicken rolls, some bananas, a couple of things of Sakata rice crackers. Sweet. Throw that in. Get you a bit of a rough idea. Okay, cool. I probably need to boost the protein just a little bit. Maybe I'll grab a couple of YoPros for the afternoon if we're out doing some activities or something like that. Or you want to have an untracked meal every time you go out. You have at least a bit of a rough idea about where you're at. It doesn't mean you need to track every day when you're there. But for someone like myself, like that would be something I would want to do.
Okay.
Not track every day, but like have it. Okay, this is roughly what I'm eating.
Sure.
Try and keep that pretty consistent over the course of the week. I'm also the type of person who loves food when I go out. So like I will eat if I want to.
Yeah.
But just having a rough understanding, because I've been tracking for so long, like I understand food. I understand nutritional values in food. I get what's in it. So it's for me, it's relatively easy. Like I can look at serving a chicken or serving a beef and be like, okay, this has got roughly this much protein.
Maybe then in that instance for someone who isn't as knowledgeable in that domain, maybe your nutrition coach, someone helping you out with this, gives you a little bit more of these things in the ballpark that you can kind of, these are your tracking targets, but maybe not as meticulous as you would do when you're back home.
So this is a course I did years ago, and lesser known fact, but I was a fully registered and accredited sports nutritionist. And I've also done precision nutrition and things like that as well. So I have a pretty high level of education and understanding and knowledge on nutrition. I just don't really enjoy it, which is why I stick to the programming side of things more. And one of the courses I did was precision nutrition, and they teach you how to track. They teach you how to calculate macros and calories and how to assign those and things like that. But one of the things they actually try and teach you majority more is palm sizes and so you want to have a palm of protein, and then you want your serving to be like a knuckle of carbs, and then a thumb of fats. So that's like trying to just give you a rough idea of like a day on your plate kind of thing, so that you don't need to track and you don't need to like fixate on numbers, but it's just something else you can look at. It's like, okay, cool. If I've got this much protein and this much veg, a little bit of fats, sweet. It's a decent meal.
Yeah.
That's it. That's as simple as it comes down to.
It puts you in the ballpark as opposed to just making a wild guess or maybe being too precise that you know exactly where that ball is landing in the ballpark.
Yeah. It just takes just keeps adding that. Like, I think we're going to keep coming back to the same thing. It just keeps that enjoyment, like that mental side of things. Like, you just want to have fun while you're on holidays. If you're on holidays to go and explore a different culture or like go and do fun things,
try the different food.
Try the different food. Go and do activities. Like, I don't know anyone besides maybe people who do actually go to places like Bali or things like that who genuinely just want to sit there and do nothing. I think George is going back to Bali, and she's planning to go for nearly a month just to do nothing.
Oh, wow.
Something like that.
Yep.
Like, I know when they went, her and Jared went, like their goal was just to do nothing and relax.
It's also because she's not good at doing nothing.
Horrible. I think she still walked like 30,000 steps a day or something. Like, ridiculous. She's like 4'10". So her walking 30,000 steps a day is equivalent to myself doing like
50,000.
Yeah, like it's a lot of steps. It's
Yeah.
like Dexter's laboratory when little feet are just going like this everywhere. That's Jordan walking anywhere. But like, if you're going to, I don't know, let's use Japan as an example because that's where I'm going next year. Like, I am planning to do so many activities. I want to fill that 2 weeks. I want to get immersed in the culture. I want to go and try different things. I want to go and do activities. I want to do just like some of the local things and stuff like that as well. Like, I'm not going over there to
go and do 5 days a week of hard training.
And yeah, like, I'm not even sure if I'm going to be allowed in the majority of the gyms over there because of the tattoo rules.
True. It's a bit of a culture
because I think you need to be covered up, and having hand tattoos probably doesn't. I'm going to be the guy in gloves and a long sleeve t-shirt in the corner.
White Yakuza boy rolling in.
Yeah, they're going to look at me and be like, "What is this guy?"
Not today, mate. Sorry.
Sorry, mate. Try better luck next time.
Cool. So we know there's many factors that come into it. I think at the end of the day, we keep coming back to, go and have yourself a good time, enjoyment as much as possible, plan in advance as much as possible. If you have resources like good coaching for training, for nutrition, utilize those resources as much as possible, communicate with your coaches, figure out the best plan that's going to work for you, because also we know that individual preference is going to matter here. Some people are going to want to do this. Some people are going to want to do that. How can you kind of meet it in the middle to get the best of both worlds? And at the end of the day, if you end up taking a few days off here and there of training, it's not the end of the world. You won't lose everything. Minimal effective dose is very easy to hit. Simple as that.
Perfect.
Rounder out.
I think that wraps it up beautifully.
Good work. Thank you. Tam, love your work. Keep editing. Thumbs.
Thanks for coming.
Can you press stop?
Yeah.
Yep. See you next week.
Oh, fuck. Fuck.
Thank you for listening to the Nexus Unloaded podcast. Be sure to jump on our website to find details on everything mentioned in the podcast today, plus information on our coaching, mentoring, and gyms based in the Gold Coast and Townsville. Make sure you follow us on our Instagram for any updates on what we are currently doing, and we'll see you all in the next episode.